some olive oil is a long way from Big Macs and Krispy Kremes, right? In
Right.
terms of the ultra processing,
Right.
right? But Karen, you don't use any oil in your recipes. Why not?
I don't because per tablespoon, just one little tablespoon is 14 grams of fat,
Mhm.
100% fat,
Mhm.
zero fiber, and 125 calories.
Yeah.
Now, when you are about to saute some vegetables or whatever, many people, me included, used to go, right, really coat the pan with oil. And by the way, that's all oil. Those numbers we just gave out that's all oil. Doesn't matter what kind it is. But so you're heating up a pan that has 5, 6, 800 calories, do the math, however much oil's in there before you've even added any
Food.
ingredients.
Right.
So you've got a pretty fat nothing there.
Right.
And
No pun intended.
no pun.
No.
No pun. So, but also, and here's the thing, like I don't like to tell people what to do. I am an educator, but I try to take a coach stance
Right.
where you come to your own conclusion. And do I use oil every once in a while? Yes, every once in a while I will use it if I think that it enhances the dish or if I need it for, science purposes, like adding a little bit to the grill outside, but I know those numbers. I know it's 125 calories per tablespoon. So I'm just going to use a teeny tiny bit, right? And so that's where I think we're doing a better job now, both at teaching people to not say, hey, don't do this. No, you know what? Because if you tell somebody to not do something, that's me pretty much telling you that you're not an intelligent human being and you shouldn't even be living your own life. No, these are the facts, right? And you decide to do what you want to do. So you're really empowering people to make those decisions.
And, Karen said, like she said, a tablespoon of oil, doesn't matter what kind, is, 14 grams of fat. For my patients with insulin resistance, I try to get their fat intake down to 30, 35 grams a day. So that is that is near impossible to do if you're putting oil in your salad dressings and cooking with the oil.
Yeah.
No.
Right. I'm glad to hear you guys say that because I'm very aware that and Jim, I think maybe you might be the first person. I feel like we were in a restaurant somewhere and we were just talking about that you're always you need fat but you always want to get it from the olive instead of the olive oil, the walnut instead of the walnut oil, because that brings the fiber in, which had me start to eat a lot more of the whole foods of the fat instead of the oil. But I'm not a no oil person. And I've seen it lead to that super stringent no oil lead to orthorexia in people. And when I look at the beginning of that conversation, if you will, or for me anyway, it's the Esselstyn studies, right? That, and I'm sure maybe there were people before him, but that's where I started hearing more on the no oil. But those studies were done on diseased people, not healthy people. And so I like the way that you look at it, Karen, where it's like, there's certainly some room for salad dressing, if you will. I'm doing what you're doing with the cooking. It's like, because we just used to douse. I mean, I must have been, I don't know, like a quarter cup of oil before we put vegetables in. I made some last night and I just go, and then it's like, I don't even know why I just put it in because it's not really helping with the sticking because there's so little. But that is really a lot of people's sticking point, if you will, is how do I keep stuff to not stick? And you have tricks of the trade of keeping food from sticking without oil or very, very little oil. What are they?
So I always teach people how to do a dry saute. Heat up that pan to, so it's very, very hot. Throw your vegetables on there, turn the heat down to a cooking temperature, probably medium high. Okay. But you always want to have your little fail safe. And that is a little ramekin or bowl or whatever of either water or vegetable broth. Yeah. It can be vinegars or whatever you want. Now, and then what you want to keep doing, the trick here is now it's actually a trick to be a mindful cook as well, because you don't want to walk away from your food, right? Right. Because all plants, as we know, all plants have water. And when you add heat to those vegetables, they will let water moisture out, and then they easily slip and slide around the pan if you stay after it. Get your spatula, get your wooden spoon, whatever, and just keep going, going, going. Now, once they start to stick to your pan just a little bit,
Yeah.
you don't have any of this it's not doing anything bad. You're not burning it. But once you get a little bit of browning on the bottom of that pan,
Right.
first of all, that's called fond, Fond, and it's that yummy caramelization that we all love. Take a little bit of your water or broth off to the side and just a tablespoon or so at a time and put it in the pan and dig under that fond with your spatula. Pull that up back into the food, and wow, flavor bomb. It's huge. It's great.
Yeah.
And just keep doing that for a few minutes until your onions are little caramelized or cooked or whatever, and then just start adding in more of your ingredients as the recipe tells you to do. So it's really, seriously, Dotsy, it's just doing things that we should be doing anyway, being a mindful cook, staying on top of that food. Because if you don't, and I learned it the hard way, and this is how we learn things, you walk away and you come back and you think, oh, damn, because all that water from the plants have evaporated and you've got a black pan now. And also, and that just kind of goes back to the oil. Well, why do we use oil? So that we can check our Instagram, walk the dog, fold the laundry,
be involved, stick with it. Stay in there.
Yeah. That's right. And you just don't need it, the oil.
No, I'm excited to hear that about the fond. I mean, this was literally happening last night, and I was kind of digging, like you out and scraping it across because it tastes good. But I feel like I learned a long time ago, and I'm realizing I think this is with just meat, so you all can answer this question. It's very carcinogenic to burn things on the grill. But is that only meat and not vegetables?
Right. So what happens is when we grill or roast meat at a very high temperature, there's a chemical reaction between the sugars and the protein. And it's called the Maillard reaction. And that's what causes that browning. But the other thing that gets created in especially when you're grilling or roasting, there's aromatics, acrylamides is fried. So it's the aromatic hydrocarbons and polycyclic amines, things like that, which are highly carcinogenic. And it seems that the protein structure of meat is much more prone to forming those because the protein density is so much higher. How much on a steak, how much of that is protein compared to a stalk of broccoli, right? There's just not a ton of protein in there to react, right? So you don't make as many of these compounds because the surface area that's in contact, but the protein surface area on a stalk of broccoli is a lot, infinitesimally smaller than the contact area, the protein contact area on a chunk of steak or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. And that makes me very excited because I can still eat this stuff from vegetables. I'm like, I don't know if this is supposed to be good for me, but it's delicious. It's good. It's fine.
It's good. It's good. And the other thing about the oils too, by the way, you have to be careful with is it's a concept called smoke points. So each oil has a smoke point, and beyond that, it actually gets transformed chemically into trans fats, and trans fats are actually much, much worse for heart disease risk than even saturated fat.
Okay.
So things like olive oil have a relatively low smoke point, so they're fine for sautéing, but you don't want to fry things in it. So that's the other thing to be cognizant of is if you decide to use some oil, be sure you're using an oil that matches with a smoke point that matches the temperature you're going to be cooking at. So, for example, avocado oil is a much higher smoke point than olive oil.
That's what I was going to ask. And coconut, isn't that one?
Coconut's the worst. Coconut's really the worst because that's all saturated fat. Actually.
It is the worst, but I'm just talking about the smoke point. And it's a very high heat.
Pretty low smoke point.
It's pretty low.
Low smoke point. Yeah.
Okay, so avocado oil is what you always suggest for the high. Right. Okay.
And you know what? If you're going to use it, just get one of those little sprays, so that you're not.
Right.
You could just spray it.
Get a little mister thing you can put the oil in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that keeps it, that keeps it low.
Yeah.
I mean, than pouring it in.
Right? That's right.
That's a smarter way.